Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Regan. I'm a landlord, I'm a property investor and a property management agency owner. And I'm so excited for you to join me for what is our first ever Property Investor Masterclass. I want to share everything I possibly can to help you have a stress-free and highly profitable experience as a landlord. One where you don't have to worry about your tenant, whether your property is growing in value, if it's being taken care of correctly, or whether you're doing everything you can as a landlord to make this whole property investor thing work for your financial goals. So this masterclass is specifically for people who own an investment property, who are currently going through the process of purchasing an investment property or plan to do it in the near future. It's for people who want to be good quality landlords. So if you have a house that's falling apart and you refuse to do any maintenance or get anything fixed there, and you don't treat your tenants with respect or comply with the required laws, this masterclass is not for you. The landlords that I want to help are the ones that want to make a lot of money, of course, from their investment property, who want to have a good quality tenant in their home, someone who pays the rent but also appreciates the important service and product you provide into the rental marketplace. Now, so what am I going to go through with you? Firstly, I'm going to show you the important things that you need to do if you want to get multiple high quality tenants practically begging to rent your investment property. And there's a key strategy we're going to go over here. Next, if you want to make an extra $50 to $100 per week from your investment property, I'll show you the exact renovations that I personally did at my last two investment properties that made me an immediate $25,000 in equity uplift, but also cost under $11,000 and only took 2 weeks to complete. Next, I'm going to share with you the exact strategies you need to use, or make sure your property manager does, to negotiate a lease renewal, which almost guarantees that your existing tenant will stay but pay the highest amount possible. Now, hopefully by now, all of the we hate landlord tenant advocates have left, because I'm going to be honest with you, this is the strategy that will ethically get you the highest possible rent using a really simple verbal judo strategy based around the law of alternate costs. Then I'm going to bring on a great friend of mine, Rob from Real Property Matters, and he's going to do a quick talk about tax depreciation. He has already saved my clients an estimated $2 million in tax, and if you don't understand tax depreciation or just think I leave that to my accountant, well, guess what? You're probably tipping the ATO every single year. And you should tip me instead. I'm just kidding, but I'd rather see that money in your pocket than the government. Then I'm going to talk honestly about your rights as a landlord, as well as your responsibilities. I see so many landlords unwittingly lose thousands of dollars. They lose sleep, they lose time with their family, all because they don't realize that they have certain rights. And as soon as they knew them, a lot of the sleepless nights or being worried about their tenancy or having to make hasty decisions in the heat of the moment just disappear. Finally, I'm going to show you how your property manager needs to market your property to get it rented super quickly and at the highest possible amount. Now, I'm qualified to do this because over the last 500 properties my business has rented, we have consistently beaten the market average by 13 days, and 60% of our properties lease at the first listing price. So if your agent keeps telling you you need to drop the rent because there's no one interested in the property, I'll give you the secret to change that. All right, cool. Sound good? Want to stay? Amazing. Let's do it. Now, just so you know who I am, my name's Regan. I'm a property investor with a portfolio worth over $2.2 million. I also own my own real estate agency, and we look after $240 million worth of residential investment properties for mum and dad investors, likely just like you. And we stand out from the rest of our marketplace because we actually understand what it means to be a landlord. And call me crazy, but unlike most property owners, I love being a landlord and property manager. I love the psychology behind it. I love the systemization. And most importantly, I love the amount of money that I've made from owning property. And I started young. In my 20s, I've made more money from owning property than I ever dreamed of, especially since Townsville's been such a good market. But it's because I bought well and I managed those assets well. Now, at the end of this, I'm going to open up a really special opportunity for landlords who want to work directly with myself and my team, and they want to be able to sleep at night knowing that someone is looking after their property with as much care and attention as they would themselves. Plus, I have an exclusive offer worth over $5,000, absolutely free of charge. But let's take this one step at a time. All right, let's start with the most important thing that you can do to get multiple amazing tenants practically begging to rent your property. Now, let's cut the generic crap straight away. Kitchens, bathrooms, street appeal, make sure it smells nice, make sure the house presents well. All right, everyone's gonna tell you that. I wanna dive into tenant psychology 101. Now, humans, we have two parts of our brain. So we've got the green brain and the red brain. The red brain is logical, it's analytical. It asks the question, can I afford this property? Does it suit my need? It processes the specific features of the property and it tends to slow the decision making down. The green brain is our emotional brain. It's our creative brain and it uses feelings like feelings of happiness or desire, and typically it speeds up decision making. Now, every human makes a decision emotionally and then justifies it logically. So green brain before red brain. So when a prospective tenant is looking at your property online, the only goal is to grab their emotional attention. That's why when my marketing team go out and take professional photos, we spend as much time on those first 3 wow shots as we do the rest of the photos. Because when a prospective tenant is scrolling through looking at many property listings, you need to engage their green brain and get them to stop and go, wow, how amazing would it be to live here? And they click on that listing and then they look through a few more photos. And this is the start of the advertising. Now those photos need to walk them through a journey of what it would be like to live in the property. And it needs to invoke the desire element from the tenant. But really, there's only so much you can do with photos. Once they've clicked through the photos, hopefully the virtual tour and the 360 video walkthrough, they're then left to looking at that description. Do not let your agent waste those first 3 lines to talk about the property features. You need to sell the lifestyle that it would be achieved by living in that property. Let me give you an example. Imagine waking up on a Saturday morning, fresh cup of coffee in hand, watching the kids and the dog run around in your fully enclosed backyard while you sit and watch them from the back patio. Once everyone's woken up, take a 10-minute stroll down to the Riverway Performing Arts Centre where the younger kids can swim while your older teenager uses the free community makerspace and connects with other teenagers his age. How much better does that sound to the property features a spacious backyard and patio area and is 500 meters from local shops and amenities? You're really selling the lifestyle. So now you've sold the emotion, you've got the green brain activated. The red brain says, logically, what do we need to do to make this property a reality? And that's where scarcity, but ease of process stands out. Now, whether it's through the ad itself or through the way the leasing team respond when the prospective tenant inquires, it doesn't matter, the outcome is still the same. The leasing team need to make it clear that there's only a very limited supply of these properties and lots of great prospective tenants are going to want to make this one their home. So here's the 360-degree walkthrough tour we've already completed. Here's the link to the online application form. If you're serious about living in this property, you need to apply as soon as you can. Now, of course, we've got an inspection that's scheduled for next week. However, I can't guarantee that the property will still be available at that point. But of course, if you'd prefer to apply now, we would love to see and process your application straight away so we can make this home yours. Bam, gotcha. Quality application, no umming and ahhing about the price or going and doing an in-person inspection. We complete the application checks, we do a quick applicant interview, and then you as the landlord get one or multiple high quality applications for your rental property at the price you want it. Alrighty, so we are all landlords here. Are you wanting to make an extra $50 or $100 per week from your investment property? I know I would. So we already know that emotions lease houses. But when it comes to upgrading your property, don't make the same mistake that I see a lot of landlords make, which is they upgrade their property to make it more like what they would want in a home than what a tenant would necessarily want. Prospective tenants usually want clean, safe, and modern property. So when it comes to boosting your home value, you need to look at your entire house as a big canvas. If you go replace a door handle or install a new wardrobe, you're painting that canvas with a very small brush. It doesn't make a big visual difference, and it isn't a particularly great way to increase the value of your property. Now, talking about painting, painting is one of the best ways that you can increase your house value. If your home has pastel wall colors, dark colored walls, or just old yucky paint, you should definitely consider repainting it between tenancies. Repainting is one of those things that's fairly easy to organize with a bit of pre-planning, and you get a massive visual upgrade to the property. Now, following this logic, we're looking at flooring, as flooring is the second biggest canvas that you can change, and you would be amazed how quick and easy it is to transform a really old rundown property into a beautiful home with fresh carpet and vinyl flooring. In fact, let me show you exactly what I did with this property. This is one of my latest personal assets, and then this is the transformation. This is the same property, been repainted, it's got new flooring. There are a couple of other minor upgrades that I made to the property, and suddenly this has gone from a property that looks like no one has done any work in 20 years to a fresh, clean, brightly renovated property, which screams to tenants that you as a landlord care for their tenancy and are gonna make sure that they have a great experience experience living in the property. Now, old properties that aren't maintained scream, my landlord's never going to take care of the place, they're never going to complete maintenance, it's always going to look dirty, and makes tenants ask why they would even want to bring friends over there. A beautiful renovated property means it's going to be easy to clean, it's going to be well maintained, it's got nice fresh touches, and will look great with my existing furniture. A place that a tenant can be proud of. The beauty of this is in that renovation, the carpet was $2,200, the vinyl flooring was about $3,800, and the painting all in cost me $5,000. All up, we're talking $11,000 renovation. Took 3 weeks to complete it, and an FYI, painting is a lot easier to do when you're getting all of the floors replaced. Now, this property would have rented for $400 per week before the renovations, and now achieves $510 per week, which is an extra $5,720 every year in my pocket. Not to mention that the renovations on this place will last the next 10 to 12 years, and have already added back $30,000 onto my property value. Now, here are my top 5 renovations to quickly boost your rental income in my top order. Number 1, repainting. Number 2, reflooring. I recommend using hard-wearing vinyl sheet flooring and commercial grade carpet in bedroom. Number 3 is relighting and using bright modern LED fixtures. Number 4 is new roller blinds and curtains. And number 5 is new handles, bathroom taps and accessories. They are the things that I do as a landlord to maximize my rental income, and they work every single time. All right, how are you feeling? Motivated, ready to get your investment property performing properly? Now, don't forget, at the end of this, I've put together something that I normally only share with my VIP clients. It's actually a process that I've keynoted about to other agency owners across Australia and New Zealand, and it's something that I'm really excited to share with you. Let's talk about lease renewals, and I'm gonna be blunt with you. This is something where most landlords leave thousands of dollars on the table, or they lose their great tenants because they don't know how to effectively negotiate a lease renewal. Now, this works especially well when your tenant has been treated well and the property manager is quick and efficient to communicate with them. Because look, unfortunately, lots of tenants have a shit experience with real estate agents and property managers. And so when your tenants are having a good one with you and your property managers, you are already ahead of the 8 ball. Because for them, the alternative to agreeing to a rent increase is running the gauntlet and potentially having a worse experience somewhere else. So the very first goal for a lease renewal is to get them to say yes. Yes, we want to renew. When they first acknowledge that mentally they want to stay, it's now about how can we achieve this together. How we do this is a simple conversation along the lines of, hey, how's it going? Your lease agreement is coming up for renewal. You've always been a great tenant. You seem pretty comfortable in the property. But before we go any further, I just want to check to see if you are interested in remaining on in the property, if we can agree on suitable renewal terms between yourself and the landlord. Yes, great, let me get back to you and check with them. Now, the next step is to show evidence of the market and present facts and not opinion. So for example, based on 8 to 10 comparable rental properties, if we were to list your property on the open market today, we would list it at a price of $600 per week, and we would confidently expect to achieve between $580 and $600 per week. Here are the recent properties that have rented that we've used to benchmark this price. Now, just a note here, you can be optimistic with this price that you set, but just don't lie about it. You could list the property at $600 per week, and you could be confident to get between $580 and $600. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed to get $600, but you are saying that that's the price you would list it at. And guess what? If you're doing your lease renewal 2 to 3 months before the end of the lease agreement, you have so much time to list the property at a higher market rate and drop it down if you need to increase interest, but there's no problem starting up higher. Now, notice what you're doing here with your tenants is you're creating a price anchor. You've anchored them to a higher figure and you've shown them the market that justifies that price. And all of a sudden you've presented the evidence. It's no longer your opinion, it's the rental market deciding the price. The next step is to acknowledge them as great tenants and remind them gently of the cost involved in moving. Now, this would look something like this. Guys, you've been a really amazing tenant, you always look after the property, you pay on time, and we would love to keep you in the property. And to be totally honest, moving is costly for everyone. For you, it means organising a cleaner, paying a removalist, taking time off work to look at other rental properties. And the same goes for the landlord as well. They have to experience a vacancy, maybe get some repairs done between tenancies, advertise and find a new tenant for the property. And it's all a lot more hassle than it's worth. So it really is in everyone's best interest if we can renew the lease agreement. So rather than pushing out the property to the open market at $600 per week, we'd love to offer you a lease renewal at $590 per week, which is a $10 saving on the market price. That way you'll stay in the home that you love and we avoid the vacancy, which is fair for everyone. And here's the kicker: starting with the evidence high, acknowledging and appreciating that they've been great tenants, and then coming down to the lower end of your price range, you're making the tenant feel like they're getting a deal, even though you've still achieved a really healthy rent increase. Now that is the technique to keep your great tenants in place, reduce vacancy, and still push your rental income up to the top of the market and have the best annual returns as an investor. Well, look, thanks Rob so much for joining me. Great to chat with you about tax depreciation and what your business does, and really how you save landlords a lot of money every year. A lot of landlords I speak to have no idea what tax depreciation is and what a tax depreciation schedule is. You'd be able to explain what a tax depreciation schedule even is?
Yeah, thanks, Regan. And always good to jump on these sessions and help educate the community. A depreciation is just a report that we produce for property investors that really captures the wear and tear that happens on a property. As you've got a tenant living in a property and they're using the property, they're walking over the carpets, they're using the kitchen appliances, they're actually living in the property itself. That tenant is causing wear and tear to happen to the property. So as they are getting worn out, the beauty of getting a depreciation schedule is capturing all that wear and tear that's happening to the property and then giving that back to the client in a sort of a report that the accountant then just uses the wear and tear loss to reduce a property investor's taxable income.
I know one of the things, like when we're doing exit inspections, we're looking at if there's any damages to the property, but something we always tell our clients is we're not able to claim money from the tenants for things that are wear and tear. And that doesn't mean that Australian landlords can't get a tax benefit from that. You need to do it through a depreciation schedule. Now, one of the things that I hear a lot is my accountant just handles that for me. What is the difference between having a documented report by a qualified quantity surveyor and just an accountant doing it?
The ATO actually say on all their collateral and websites, they actually don't recognise depreciation schedules prepared by an accountant. We sort of got to dig in a little bit about, okay, it's quite easy to understand, okay, what does depreciate on a investment property, building, and the ATO call this capital works. So when we come to a depreciation schedule, what we can initiate for the investor is the building actually suffers wear and tear as well. Not just the carpet, the kitchen renovation or the bathroom renovation, painting, lighting, the actual physical structure itself, that also suffers some wear and tear, and we're able to claim that back as depreciation. What we're recognised by the ATO to do as a quantity surveyor, we establish what the particular property would have cost to construct when it was constructed. And that's the magic that we come up with, because once we establish a construction cost when it was constructed, that's actually the figure that depreciates every year. Because theoretically, all what an accountant does know about in a property, you know your purchase price, you know your settlement date, but the cornerstone to depreciation is what something costs to construct. And that's something what you need a quantity surveyor to do to establish a construction cost, then it depreciates away.
If you're a landlord watching this and thinking, oh crap, I forgot to get a depreciation schedule, is it too late to get it now? Can I still get one? Is it worth a landlord getting a depreciation schedule if they've owned a property for a couple of years and they maybe forgot or didn't know to get one done?
Never too late to get depreciation schedule done, theoretically. Answer your question in relation to how far we can pull these things back. We can pull it back 2 years from their previous lodgement. Theoretically, if we're talking to me now in sort of August, we're a couple of years into the new financial year. Ideally, a lot of people wouldn't have done their tax returns yet. Yep. So the last tax return they would have done would have been 24 tax return back in July, August last year. So potentially, if that was the case, we can actually pull a depreciation schedule back 2 years before that.
Yeah, fantastic. So it's not too late, is what you're saying. It's still
never too late. Never too late.
Worth
yeah.
It. Depreciation is something that's talked about a lot when you're looking at buying a new property versus buying an established home. What is the big difference? Let's say I bought a beautiful heritage North Queensland property built in the 1950s. If I compare that property to a property built last year that I've just picked the keys up from the builder, is there a big difference in my depreciation benefit?
Yeah, it certainly is. And we hear a lot of times with property investors, people saying that my property's too old to depreciate. Real property matters here. A third of our work we do is what we call like pre-87 properties that are built before this date you mentioned, what we call a pre-87 date. There's no dearer time to build a property than what there is right now. What actually are we depreciating for the client? What we're depreciating for the client is what the property cost to construct. The purchase price for an investment property for depreciation purposes alone, it doesn't matter whether whether the investment property is in far north Queensland or it's in a premium suburb in Brisbane on the river. Although the purchase price could be several $1 million different, if the properties were identical, the depreciation would be exactly the same because it's based upon what that property cost to build. So come back to your question about the newer the property. No doubt it was a 2025 built property. It's probably a $400,000 to $500,000 build cost. The build cost is so high, that means the depreciation is bigger. Come back to your other property, the far north Queensland property built in the 60s. The original structure on that property is too old to depreciate. There is an 87 date that if a property is built before 1987, we can't depreciate the structure. But as I mentioned before, probably a third of the work we do here at Real Property Matters is properties that are built before 87. So what we then look at is any renovation that's been done to the property. So if the property's had any painting or floorboards or floor polishing, it may have been lifted, raised, weatherboards may have been replaced, it may have been a deck put out the back, any sort of renovation that's been done to that property in the last 24 years, much the same as establishing a construction cost, we're recognised by the ATO to go look at the property and say, okay, this property's been heavily renovated. We think there's $200,000 worth of renovations that have been done in those last 24 years. Those $200,000 is going to give a client $5,000 depreciation claim.
How would people reach out to you and your business, even if they're not a client of mine? Obviously, if they're a client with us, we organise it on their behalf. But how do people reach you directly, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely, Regan. Thank you for that. Our website has a contact us button, www.realpropertymatters.com.au. I'm sure you may be able to put this in the link somewhere as well.
Yep.
Jump on there, send us your details, send us your name. There's no area in Australia we don't cover. Talking's free. We're happy to have a chat. With part of our company, our philosophy is when someone's thinking about getting a schedule done, we'd actually run them through the property, what's there, what sort of likely return they're likely to get back, and then else.
All right, let's talk about 3 rights that you have as a landlord that I see so many landlords unwittingly lose sleep, money, and time on because they don't realise they have them. Inspections. Firstly, you have the right to access the property to complete full and thorough inspection. In Queensland, you're legally entitled to do routine inspections every 3 months, and your tenants don't get to dictate how many photos you take or what rooms you can and can't look in, as long as you respect their privacy. Should you treat your tenants with respect? Absolutely. However, at the end of the day, you own the property. They are occupying it temporarily in exchange for money on agreed terms. You've got the right to inspect the property inside, outside, in every room, and you can look for water leaks or mold in reasonable areas or cupboards. Check the condition of carpets under beds. Make sure the property is being looked after. As a landlord, it's not your right to dictate how someone chooses to live their life, but you can absolutely check, make sure and document that your tenant is taking care of the condition of the property. Leases. You have the right in Queensland to require that your tenant is on a lease agreement. This one is huge because I see so many landlords fall unstuck because they allow their lease to roll onto a periodic agreement, which is basically handing your tenant all the leverage. Just because it's not pleasant to be told that you have to vacate a property if you don't agree to lease renewal terms, it doesn't mean that that isn't your right as a landlord to dictate as much. You shouldn't have to stress that your tenant might give you 2 weeks notice, move out, and then tough for you. You've still got to cover the mortgage. Control your asset, protect your cash flow. Now, the way that we stop this is from day one, we recommend issuing a notice to leave. That way it's clear that you're providing a fixed term agreement only. And if the tenant wants to stay beyond that date, they would need to agree to renewal terms negotiated between yourself and the tenant. Finally, tradespeople. As a landlord, you have every right to decide who does work on your property. Don't just blindly accept the first invoice that the property manager throws at you. You're entitled to understand what the problem is, why it's a problem, and what the proposed solution is. If your property manager can't explain it to you clearly, then you should be able to ask the trade directly. Remember, it is your property and it's your money that you're spending. I've seen too many landlords cop a $2,000 you need to replace it bill when there was a totally viable $200 repair that would have fixed the issue. And it's all because the property manager was just doing their job and not understanding the issue at hand and not coming up with multiple solutions or ways to rectify it. All right, how am I doing? We are really getting through this. Hopefully you're already thinking you're more equipped now as a landlord. And don't forget, after this next session, I have my super exciting offer for you. All right, to wrap up this training, let's talk about how your property manager needs to market your investment property to get it rented super quickly and in the highest possible rent. There's a massive difference between having a lot of people wanting to rent your property and having your property actually rented. Since COVID, people do things quicker, they make decisions faster, and they're a lot more comfortable with doing things online. Remember, people still rented houses out during the lockdown. Now, getting an application is this concept that I call a trust bridge. See, the more desire someone has for an outcome, the more likely they will take a step towards that outcome. However, there needs to be a feedback loop that confirms that their choice to take an action was a positive one. Let's talk about a listing online. You see the first 3 photos, you think this looks good, you click on it, and the rest of the photos and property looks as good as the first 3 photos. And you think, great, so your desire goes up a little bit, as does your trust. Next, you submit an inquiry, and very quickly, a friendly leasing agent calls and asks to see if they can answer any of your questions about the property. Now, you took a step forwards in submitting an inquiry, and you had a great experience in the phone call. Trust and desire go up. Next, that leasing agent offers to send you a 360-degree walkthrough video of the property so you can check it out right now. And you think, great, you check it out, and it's just like the photos, and the agent sent it to you just like they promised they would do. Amazing, trust has gone up, desire has gone up. And they call you a day later to see if you got the video and to see how you found it and to answer any questions that might have popped up. They ask you if you'd like to submit a rental application online. Guess what? You do, even though you've never seen the property in person. And it's an incremental step process of desire, taking an action, positive feedback. Desire, taking an action, positive feedback. Now imagine if I had just asked you if you wanted to commit $30,000 over the next 52 weeks without ever meeting anyone or seeing the property in person. Most people would say absolutely not. But why don't tenants? Because subconsciously, they have made a step, they've been rewarded with the outcome they expected. They made another step, they were rewarded with a better outcome. And as agents representing your rental property, we have essentially held that tenant's hand and walked them all across the trust bridge. Now, if you think a typical leasing process with a real estate agent, inquire, maybe not get a call back, likely get an automated email saying, here's the inspection calendar, book in. If you're interested in the property, ask the property manager during the inspection. That is a very long and convoluted tenant acquisition cycle. With the way that I recommend leasing properties, we have streamlined and condensed that tenant acquisition cycle to as short as 48 hours. And this is what allows my business to consistently lease properties 13 days faster than the market average in Townsville and lease 60% of our properties at the first listing price. So there we have it. That's how you can make money, have less stress, and really make this investment property ownership thing work for you. So what's next? Obviously, property investing is my passion. I live it, I breathe it every single day, but don't worry, I'm not gonna try and sell you an investment property to line my own pocket. What I wanna do is help you better understand the opportunities you already have within your own investment portfolio. Or if you're about to buy a property, I wanna help you make sure it's the right property and you understand the strengths and the weaknesses of that specific asset. Now, this is something I usually only offer to my VIP clients, people who are personally referred through to me or already hold larger investment portfolios. But for everyone that has stayed through to the end of this masterclass, I want to open this opportunity up for you today. I'm offering my one-on-one property performance review, where in a single one-on-one session, you and I will personally go through your investment property, look at its performance, uncover some hidden opportunities, and I'll show you how to immediately improve your investment return. Now, this includes the following. We're going to do a full lease and tenancy analysis, understand if you're under renting, are your lease terms costing you leverage, and what changes could we make to put money straight back into your pocket. We're going to do a property profile. We look at the presentation, the rental demand in your area specific to your niche, and where small targeted upgrades could deliver the biggest rental increase. We'll do a cash flow forecast, show you exactly how much money you could be making every single week with the right property tweaks. I'm going to help you prepare a capital uplift plan, just like I've done for my own portfolio, where $11,000 in renovations resulted in over $30,000 in capital uplift and added an extra $5,720 per year in rent into my pocket. And after our one-on-one meeting, where I'll answer any questions and discuss anything about property investment that you'd like to, I will then check back in 1 to 3 months to make sure your plan is on track and to make sure you're actually seeing results. Now, usually for this, I charge $2,400 plus GST, and I believe this is worth every cent. When you consider one rent increase of just $40 per week can add an extra $20,000 over a standard 10-year ownership term. And that's before you factor the capital growth opportunities we'll uncover together. But today, because you've taken the time to invest in yourself as a landlord, I want to book this for you for just $489 plus GST. And this offer is open to landlords all over Australia. Now, if you happen to be a landlord in Townsville and you choose to bring your property over to my business's management afterwards, I'll waive your first 2 months of management fees, which depending on your rent is worth between $300 and $500. So really you're paying $500 and in return you're walking away with a clear plan that could make you $5,000, $10,000, even $30,000 worth of additional value and income over the next 12 months. Plus every year you hold that property, the gains compound. Now if you love the content but you're thinking this one-on-one property profiling isn't quite for you, that's totally fine, no hard feelings at all. As a thank you for sticking around and watching the masterclass, I'd still love to help you out with the day-to-day running of your investment property. So if you're curious about our pricing, it's a super simple, one click, the link below, tell us where to send it and we'll send you our fee structure right away. No runaround, no tell me your pain point, chat with a tired business development manager, just the answers you want about our fees straight away. So there you have it. Now you know how to prepare your property so tenants are lining up, how to use smart renovations to add enormous value, how to negotiate lease renewals with good tenant and boost your rent, your rights as a landlord to make sure your asset is protected, and the exact marketing process that we use to make sure your properties get leased faster and for more money. I built this masterclass because too many landlords are stressed, underpaid, and flying blind. You don't have to be one of them. With the right systems and strategies and the right people in your corner, property investing can be stress-free, highly profitable, and actually enjoyable. Or maybe I'm just crazy. So you've got two options. Take what you've learned today, start applying it yourself, or if you want the peace of mind of having a team who already does this every single day, click the link below and let's talk about how we can help manage your property. Whether it's through one-on-one property performance coaching or simply stepping in and taking control of the day-to-day management, you'll have experts making sure your property performs the way it should. Either way, thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you walk away feeling more confident, more equipped, and ready to make better decisions as a landlord. I'm Regan, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with your property from here.